Is that all right? All right. You just tell me.
It's an honor to come back out, be a representative. Wanted to come out, one, say thank you. Two, we've been coming back to the district for the last really 4 months and down in Austin and working on the issues. We've been to a couple of judges and commissioners meetings and stuff around. And really sort of saying, here's what I see coming up in the session. And the four big ones are going to be water, which is good to know that it's finally where it should be. And I think we're going to get serious about addressing the water issue. And make sure we protect property rights, but we also got to make sure that we protect agriculture and from a water standpoint. Next one is transportation. We've run out of funding because we've been funding roads for the last 10 years on bonds and debt, and those come to an end, so we don't have the money to do that. So we've got to figure out how we're going to get the money, what are we going to cut somewhere else so we can have money to fix our roads. But then it's really, how much do we spend on fixing and how much do we spend building new ones? Well, the urban guys say, we got a whole bunch of road projects, we want to build all these new roads and everything. And at the same time, though, we've got to maintain our rural roads. And a lot of our farm to markets need to have those shoulders on to where, they're safer to drive on and everything from that standpoint. So we've got to maintain what we have, and I think improve it from a safety standpoint. And the best thing I think we're doing in rural Texas is doing that shoulder program. You get a lot of these farm market roads, especially if they're getting semi-traffic on them. And, the shoulder's been worn off, and there's a big dip over there. And if you get off and then try to get back on, that's where cars start flipping and rolling. So we'll address transportation. Education is going to be a little bit different this time. That's really sort of always a big item. But instead of us talking and fighting over funding and how much are we going to fund and how much goes to which schools based on which formulas, we're going to talk more about the fact that we do an awful lot of testing that we probably don't need to do. And I think one of the important things we're going to talk about, choice in our education curriculum. And that means instead of just doing 4x4, everybody going to college, that we have an option in it for vocational education for the kids who aren't going to go to college. So they can learn a trade, whether it's in carpentry, whether it's welding, whether it's office services, whatever that is, we need to be able to teach them and train them to when they get out of high school, and especially in rural Texas, you can stay and work in rural Texas and make a living. If you get out with a college prep degree in high school and you're not going to go to college, a lot of folks in our communities and Munster, you're still not worth anything yet. You might as well have been a high school dropout. If you can't run a CNC machine, we don't need you. And so we need to be able to train them from that way back in high school. We're trying to get a list so we can give you our contacts once we finally get phone numbers and addresses. And the fourth last one on the big items is Medicaid. Medicaid is the thing that's eating up all the budget. It's gone from 10% to about 23%, 25% today. It's supposed to go to 36 to 40% in the next 10 years. Well, Texas has 10% of the people on Medicaid. We pay 8% of the taxes, and we get 6% back. So we're a donor state. They changed the formula after the last election, and by 0.1, 0.2% of the factor of what we get costs Texas $2.5 billion. And so when we sit here and say, well, what are some of our problems, that's really where it's at. We're going to fight first, and our best choice is to where we can say we want to block grant it back. We want to keep all of our money here. We'll insure all the people that are needy and poor that need to have health insurance. We'll insure more people, but we'll make it make more sense instead of it on one size fits all where you either get it or you don't. There's going to be some other people at the end of the spectrum that don't get insurance today or don't get some coverage, and we get a little bit. But there's going to have some other people back over here that may have to start paying in a little bit. A program that makes sense on how can you transition off of government benefits as you better yourself in your life. And so, On top of that, the other one is we're going to have to implement the insurance commissions that exchanges that they're telling us we have to set up. On these exchanges, though, we're going to make the federal government do it because we know they're not going to like whatever we do in Texas. So we're going to be better off if we say, you might as well set it up and you pay for it, and then that way there's no complaining about it. So, I think that's the way 35 other states are actually going to go now. Initially, everybody thought Texas was crazy for saying we weren't going to do it. Now it looks like the majority of the states are saying, the federal government, y'all just set up your own exchange on that standpoint. But those are the four big ones, but that doesn't mean that there's not a lot of local, small issues or other issues that affect agriculture that we don't need to be on top of all the time. There's 5 bills that we've already signed on with. The first one deals with limiting the growth of government. I think government's big enough, so we're talking about it needs to stay at population increase and inflation, and that ought to be the cap. That would still give us 8.8% more money to spend this next budget than we have now. To me, that's plenty of growth. We don't need to grow the government any bigger than that. The second one we're looking at is drug testing everybody who gets a welfare check. And the reason is if you've got money to do drugs, you don't need money from me to buy food. So sort of almost in a way of means testing type of deal. And part of that includes a work provision in there too, that if you're on welfare, you're going to work. So, and then one of the local ones will be interesting is giving the ability. There's a gentleman, Lyle Larson, who's state representative of San Antonio. Lyle has proposed to give local control back from what we do from our jailing perspective. It says we can use tents. So we want to be like Sheriff Joe out in Arizona. We say, well, we got 3 guys with DUIs, and do we really need spend enough, and we can figure out how to do that and do it at a better sentence. At least I think we're talking about more than pup tents and and electric. Well, maybe a good electric fence might work. But fourth one is ending in-state tuition for illegals. My position all along is I don't think it's right to take taxpayers' money from citizens to then give to somebody who's not here legally. Well, we won't give the same thing to a kid from Arkansas or Oklahoma that's smart that we would love to have in our schools. So from that standpoint, and the last one, and this one when I was telling some folks, they couldn't believe that we have school board meetings that we don't have armed guards at. And I said, no, there is still part of Texas that, we don't have police officers in the county. We have sheriff's deputies, and that's what we have. But to allow school board members and superintendents, if they have their concealed carry, to carry their gun at the meeting. We put them, they take that position, they put themselves at risk. If they think that they want to be able to defend themselves at a meeting, then they ought to be able to have that right.
How do you feel that the teachers carry that they got?
I am all for it. And the funny one was, I didn't realize that I'd met David Tweet 3 times. In fact, I was with him last week on Wednesday, and he's the superintendent at Harold ISD, and he's the one that they have guns. He's been on Glenn Beck and all the shows here of late this week talking about it. They have a great plan. If you got your CHL, you come through this. They do a little bit of extra training. They got some special fragment and bullet requirements. Man, that makes perfect sense to me, and I think they ought to have that right. Now, today that right is already there. It has to be through the school board, though. And so the school board has to authorize it. I would like to see it get to where it was much more than, okay, it has to be the school board that says you can do that. At least in my district, that I know that enough citizens had that concern that most school boards would probably go for. If you're in Dallas or even Tarrant County, Fort Worth, there's no way the school board's going to say we want to allow that to happen. But I think we should.
I mean, if you go to a basketball game in Tarrant County, you got to go through a metal detector.
Yeah.
You go to a football game in Dallas, you have to go through a metal detector. One thing that I'm curious why, when I went to high school in the 60s, the glass doors to the school had wire mesh in them.
Yeah.
You couldn't break out a door and open it. Why'd they get away from that?
No,
If they had that,
I remember they had that.
If they had that in Connecticut, the guy never would have gotten in the door.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a simple solution.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, a guy can sit there and wait in the bushes and wait till somebody opens the door to come out. There's just no way you can come up with all the things that is going to protect somebody that they don't need to have that right to be able to protect themselves.
Oh, I know.
And my argument on anybody wants to say is like, I'm going to carry a gun on the floor of the Capitol and into my office back and forth all the time. And we have great security. We have metal detectors. We have armed, plainclothes officers in the Capitol. But at the end of the day, if Travis and I are sitting back in the office and some deranged lunatic wants to come in, I don't have time to wait 30 seconds or 15 seconds for somebody to come there, unfortunately. So I think if I have that right, we ought to have the right to everybody else as well. We're going to do the concealed carry or we call campus carry for colleges, sort of the same point from there. There's a lot of people sort of overreact. They think all these kids carry. One is most of them won't. The vast majority won't. Two, you still got to be 21 years old. And three, if I take a 50-year-old lady who's going back to a community college to better herself in education, she's taking night classes and wants to walk out, she ought to be able to have a gun in her purse to make sure she gets to her car fine.
Bad thing about it, I've got the license, but you go to Abilene somewhere, I don't carry them. But if I can't go in the mall with it, you take the mall as a prime place for lunatics to start shooting and things.
That's right.
But on the door there you got the ban on handguns there. And I can't take mine in even though I've got a license.
I don't know how well it'll go getting through, but there is definitely a talk of saying that concealed carry wouldn't be stopped anywhere in the state. There wouldn't be no longer will we allow any gun-free zones.
That's why guns
at a public location. If it was somebody individual person's house,
yeah,
that's a different situation.
Because gun-free zones are the only place these shootings
That's
take place.
exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. So.
Well, and I'm not for it. I did have a strong military background. I can guarantee you right now, as long as that nut can go out there and get that 30-round clip magazine rifle, semi-automatic, they'll empty that 30-round clip in a matter of 6 or 8 seconds.
Yeah.
With your concealed carry handgun,
Yeah.
and you confront that guy, you're going to lose every time.
Yeah.
That's what we need to be addressing. Get that out of the public's hands. The public don't need these assault-type weapons out here in public.
Mm-hmm.
Our police officers need it. Our military needs it. Shotguns have been limited to 3 rounds my entire life. You pull the plug out of a shotgun, you're illegal. You can put
No, just for duck.
Huh?
Just for duck.
Well, it used to be all.
No, it's
But it should be that
They
way on every.
now have a shotgun out there.
I mean, a
9-round
sportsman
shotguns. Yeah.
that's hunting, deer, it doesn't matter what, 3 rounds
Mm-hmm.
is all you need. Because you shoot at a deer that first time, you're going to be lucky if you get that second shot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Oh, shoot.
Why do we?
Yeah.
These large magazine capacity rifles that will shoot those things are designed for really one thing.
Right.
And we're not going to stop these nutcases. They're always going to be with us. There's going to be people that's going to be out to hurt people. But if he walks in there with a bolt action rifle,
There are evil people in the world.
if he walks in there with a bolt action rifle, we're probably not going to take down 20 kids and 6 teachers. You see what I'm saying?
What about a 9mm, 15-round?
Why would you need that? That's what I'm saying. A pistol, 6 rounds.
I've got 9mm pistols with 15 rounds.
So do I. We don't need it.
And I'm not giving them up.
Well, I just don't know why we need
Not
it
giving them
out
up.
in the public.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just.
I'll tell you where the biggest problem is there's video games.
Well,
that-
yeah.
I mean,
Well,
they're
it's
talking
a
about
mobile
video games
device.
where you got people
There is-
showing
In
them, blowing,
conjunction with that,
shooting them in
and
the head.
Trey and I have discussed this quite a bit because of the people we deal with almost every time he's here. On top of this, we have got to somehow figure out a way to to expand our mental health community and make it more accessible to families who identify a family member that needs that help, but they don't have the financial wherewithal to get it.
That needs to be more.
Now, that's something that's got
not
to be
that almost
addressed.
a knee-jerk. That needs to be more of the reaction
It does.
off of what happened versus gun control.
Yeah, and like I say, I bought my first .22 rifle when I was 8 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, I've hunted all my life. I've got a house full of guns. Anybody who talks about doing away with guns or confiscating them is a fool, and it'll never happen. But at the same time, I just don't see why we need these large capacity magazine guns out here in the public. Because that invites one thing, and that's mass killings. And that's all it invites. If you can't get your enjoyment by going out there and blinking 3 rounds at a time and then reloading and doing it again, then you got a problem, it looks like to me. I mean, I love shooting.
Well, I get hunters coming in that bring, AR-15s or AK-47s, and what they shoot at is normally cans in the canyon, or if they run onto a group of 20 hogs.
Yeah, I understand
it's more
that,
fun
but
to kill
sometimes
20 hogs.
in a society, we sometimes have to give up a little for certain things.
But I don't.
And that giving up the right to go out there and rip off a whole box of shells in a matter of a couple of seconds to protect our school kids from another incident like this. And how many times have we had that the last 10 years? Quite a few.
They're just so prevalent in the world.
It is.
Anybody who wants to get one, whether we made them illegal here, would have one.
And that's something I think.
And that's a global society type of issue as well. You're just not going to stop that. But from the standpoint, one I wanted to expand on what you sort of were saying is, if the guy walks in right now and he has a gun, I'm trying to go for that. I'm probably losing that one every single time. But the other situation is if he's over there shooting, it's not mine as a CHL to try to be a law enforcement officer and go over there to do something. But if he starts shooting over there, I know I can reach mine and at least try to. I'm moving for cover in here and moving my family. I'm protecting my family is what mine is, and I like that.
And if we're all packing when he gets here, one of us is going to get him before he gets off.
Well, and that's, somebody said in an earlier stop today, is the problem is we have these soft targets where you go into school where nobody's going to have a gun and nobody's going to stand up to you from that. I mean, it was a few weeks ago, there was a mall, the mall shooting at the food court. Once again, keep going to the mall. Everybody has a whole bunch of people there. That's where you're going to go to.
Running, that's something addressing. And you were in the Army.
Yeah.
People on look at that guy down there at Fort Hood. Shot 30 people, killed 13 of them, our own military, and they don't have a friggin' rifle on them. Not one of them. If you go to Israel, the teachers are packing automatic weapons. All the military carry their weapons with them, and they're loaded. And
we don't live in the environment they live in
Israel.
That's not a fair comparison.
We got Aurora, Colorado. We got Connecticut. We live in the same situation. We got a bunch of evil.
Actually, we don't. But that's. I just think we need to look at that. I think if we're going to have an honest conversation, and not one of these, it's my way or the highway. If we're going to have an honest conversation about this, we've got to address these large capacity magazines out here in the public. I think it's something that's going to happen. And believe it or not, the NRA has just admitted to that too. In their statement that they issued yesterday, they admitted it. We're going to have an honest conversation. And we do, because that is a problem. But on top of that, we've got to be comprehensive, and that's addressed this mental health issue. We've got to do that. I mean, even without that, and Trey can attest to this too, we deal with this, don't we, Trey, every day. When we run into people that need those services, but we cannot get those people the mental health help that they need. Our hands are tied.
What about the drug problem too, Ronnie? Isn't that part of it?
Actually, that factors in, but that's not as dangerous a problem in instances like this. It's just the sheer mental health, the true mental health problems.
Well, you can't commit, and
No.
You can't commit an adult without their permission.
No, I know.
Oh, you can, but it's not an
You
easy
can, but
process.
it is a very difficult process, and it.
And I've been through it, Jim.
So that's something we need to
I've visited with Jim.
expand our bed capacity, our mental health bed capacity in the state. And I understand we've got budgetary constraints on it, but to me, that should take some precedence over some of our prison expansion, mental health expansion.
I agree.
I think it should.
No, I absolutely agree with you. That's one of the reasons I think we have to go after Medicaid as hard as we have to.
Yeah.
And our welfare entitlement society that says we're not going to, we'll give you a hand up. We're not going to give you a handout for life. We're not going to give you a $69,000 job to sit at home and watch TV.
Yeah.
It's not going to be comfortable. We'll make sure there's a roof over your head.
Right.
There's bulk beans and whatever in there, and that's the way it ought to be.
Yeah.
If you want a better life and you can work, you need to get out and work.
What about I don't mean the filibuster meeting, but if some things brought up on Medicare, Medicaid, how is that going to affect our nursing home residents? I mean, we've got, the vast majority of the folks in nursing homes all over the state, and our little nursing home down here, is without the Medicaid assistance on that, most of them couldn't stay.
Right.
And most of our nursing homes couldn't keep their doors.
That's right.
How's these constraints going to affect that?
I don't think that from the nursing home standpoint it will. We were talking about that. The last thing they did was they gave a big cut. So I don't think we're not going to be talking about cutting, all the payments back to the service providers, doctors, like they did last time for the Medicaid. It's hard to find anybody to take a Medicaid patient anymore. So, but you're right. I mean, from the dollar standpoint of it, we just got to make sure that that it's not being run fraudulently. That the system has been gamed to some degree on the nursing home side, nothing like it has on the other. I mean, we spent $1 billion last year in childhood dental fraud in the Valley. So I mean, those are where we need to go at. I don't see the fraud side on the nursing home. I have heard about those type of deals from there. But there are definitely people who want to work that system and says, how can I get rid of my $10 million to where I only have $2,000 in my name the day before I'm ready to go in, and I'll private pay to have somebody in my house while I drain, while I'm waiting on that time period to go over, because we don't want mom's inheritance to be taken to pay for her to be in the nursing home. We're waiting for it because we want to keep it all and let the state pay for it.
Yeah.
That would be the only thing I think from a nursing home perspective that we would really be after Medicaid and making sure that we don't.
I've just been a little concerned that if we have to start cutting programs, they'll all just be summarily slashed so a certain percentage across the board. And I know in every program there's certain waste and fraud involved. But the nursing home thing, I go down here and I see our residents in our nursing home. I'm there every day, and I'm thinking, my goodness, if that gets slashed, what in the world are we going to do with these folks?
Well, Monday I was at a nursing home in Gainesville and touring with the director. And I didn't realize last time we cut out the hearing aid program. So we no longer buy hearing aids for people on Medicaid and nursing home. I'm like, how do you communicate with the patient if they can't hear you anymore? I mean, it just didn't make sense to me. I said, I'm sort of baffled, so I'm trying to get my hands around some of those. But we're in sort of a tight time frame. I did want to introduce you to my district director, Jennifer Vogel, and my chief of staff, Travis McCormick. They'll be in Travis in Austin. Jennifer will be in our Gainesville office, but she'll be traveling throughout the district. And as soon as we have phone numbers, addresses, and everything else, we'll make sure we email them back out to everybody so you all have contacts for us. I mean, I think you know how to get a hold of me now, and then feel free to continue to do so from that standpoint. But we just want to make sure. In fact, I was talking to somebody the other day about the issue with the JP and being gone, if they were gone in a certain period of time, and trying to figure out how we can better understand and get our hands and maybe make a change in the rates on that.
We have a class in Dickinson, I think 18 area judges, and we discussed that up there. And most everybody's in the same position.
Yeah.
Ronnie, you were talking about nursing homes. Some federal stuff that has come down the pipe is throwing people out of nursing homes. Because Randy Murphy, he's my insurance agent, his mother was an inmate.
Yeah.
They came in and her mind shock was attacked. They came in and said, what are your pills for? And she was taking 10, 11 pills. She named off every one and what it was for. They kicked her out because she was mentally capable. Physically, she couldn't take care of herself, but they booted her out.
Yeah. Well,
I'm afraid to go with
They must have known y'all were coming.
Yeah. I didn't know I could enter a flood.
Well, what do you draw for your office?
I've already drawn, I drew number 14, and so actually it puts me at 125 in seniority, so some people would say I'm already 2 sessions ahead of where some people used to be, as big as our class is. I've been working on Speaker Strauss and telling him that first committee assignment on one is agriculture. After that, natural resources is my second choice for water. And if I can pull both those off as the top 2, that would be fantastic. I have a feeling he's going to say no to one. Actually, probably more than likely it would be water because there's very few openings on there. There's a bunch on ag right now.
and have we not mentioned we want the lake here?
And well, we need to working on that water plan, making sure we figure out how that's involved in that is a good thing.
30-year process with the
And then
EPA.
and then that's the unfortunate side of that. We need to work on trying to streamline that. But and then the third one is CRT, Culture, Recreation, Tourism. The whole reason is they oversee Texas Park and Wildlife. I mean, so if you're going to have a sort of a lower committee assignment off somewhere, I don't want to be on urban affairs. I mean, I don't understand their issues and all those. I just don't think that helps me represent the district. So much of ours is wildlife land that being on there to make sure the representation's there. So those will be it. So.
Will you still have some sway in education?
Yes.
Yeah.
Man, if there's education issues, I can go to those committee meetings. We're going to have some says in that. There's a lot of guys who ran that were presidents of school boards. I mean, Marcia Carney was on the State Board of Education. She'll be a new freshman.
Well, you know the conversation we had about the testing and,
Right.
and just the ludicrous amount and
Right.
redundancy of it all.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if you had talked to some of your incoming freshmen with you, and do they?
They all agree.
They're all saying the same.
There's not one single person that thinks the level of testing we do right now is correct.
Yeah. Or the effort.
Some of us want to get a whole bunch of it off, maybe more than some, and some are trying to get their hands around that.
Well, it's just a corrupt system with Pearson doing it and then providing the materials for it.
Right. No, without a doubt.
Yeah.
I think we already get 2 free tests.
Yeah.
ACT, SAT.
Yeah. There you go.
You put bell curve. You plot them on a bell curve. You post them in the newspaper, online, on the school's website.
Yeah.
Citizens who vote on their school board, who hire the superintendent, can figure out whether or not we're preparing the kids who are going to college well. And then we need a base level that says the kids need to be able to figure out, can they do fractions, so in case they're going to be in carpentry, whether they can figure out a home budget, a loan, reading, can they fill out a job application and a resume? Those basic life skills.
Sure.
We can monitor people on that. I think we have some people so far into certain things that they don't do well on the basics. We say, this guy can't make change. It's not on the test. We don't teach them how to make change.
I
Right.
don't understand. When us old school people went to school, we learned how to read, write, do arithmetic, and history, and that was it. We didn't have social skills, and we didn't have all this
Leadership training.
superfluous stuff.
We learned how to do
when we got out 8th grade, we had enough skills that we could go to work if we needed.
Yeah.
And if we got out of high school, we darn sure could go to work.
Yeah.
But now these kids have to go to junior college when they get out of high school to get any kind of education because they haven't gotten it in high school.
That's because all we do is teach that test. Well, we're gonna get going. We're trying to stay on, so head to Roby and then Roby, Jayton, and Post, Crosbyton, and Rawls, and Floyd Davis still today. I've already done Jacksboro, Graham, Albany, Throckmorton,
Where are you spending the night? Is that back home now?
Yeah, exactly.
It's good to have you.